Noon 11, when the state bought Fish Island in St. Augustine last fall, conservation groups were elated. They were celebrating. It was a major deal they thought would protect the environment from preventing development. But now a large car wash is planned on neighboring property. And as On Your Side's Jeff Ballin reports for us tonight, many of those same folks, they want that stopped.
I mean, who builds a car wash next to hallowed conservation land?
Janet Patton is one of many shaking their heads after learning that a Gate Petroleum subsidiary plans to build a car wash immediately next to Fish Island, a 57-acre parcel in St. Augustine the state bought for $6.5 million last November to save it from development. The car wash would be similar to this one on Palm Valley Road in Nocatee, but here opponents say the environmental concerns are many.
High decibel levels that a 26-bay car wash has.
This close to the Matanzas River and, they say, a vast but vulnerable ecosystem.
Here's 7 pages of wildlife and flowers and plants that we found on Fish Island.
Opponents say it defeats the purpose that the state would spend millions to preserve this piece of land when city zoning allows for a mega car wash on this piece of land. And this, by the way, presumably would be the entrance.
It doesn't belong next to a conservation park.
An online petition has gathered 2,700 signatures in about 10 days, and opponents say Gate should consider something at its gas station a half-mile east, or at least in that direction.
I think Gate can stop this from happening.
But as Gate itself showed in an email to us Monday, it has confirmation from the city that zoning is in its favor. The company hopes to break ground by the end of the year. In St. Augustine, Jeff Ballin, First Coast News, On Your Side.